Sorry guys, but we're back and now Mui is having a drink. Someone is very thirsty. Nothing like a good brunch. Oh, he reminds me of Kalamba when he did that. So that's just lovely. Let's try and get around him again. Well, this is nice for us because he actually turned southwards before he exited along the western boundary. My gloves are off, everyone. Gloves are off. And we are now at work. Okay, I'm going to get around again and I'm going to send you over to James if we'll sit down while I do that.
Look how pretty this little scene is here. We've got the little grebes at Biffle's Hook, and they are foraging or swimming, looking for bits and pieces in the mist there. Isn't that pretty? There's the little ones. Golden haze hanging over them. And this is the family at Biffle's Hook Dam, which is the northeast corner of Djuma. So cute. We actually stopped here just because we were offline and it was warm in the sun, and then we saw the little things knocking about in the mist there, and were minded to try and bring an image of them to you. Yeah, it does look like a hot spring, as Louise says, but like she also says, it must be pretty freezing in there. I think it must be freezing too. Yes, Jolly Whiskey, I do too. It's magnificent. And it won't last for long. In about 15 minutes, I imagine it'll be gone. Well, there's a lot of mist right now. And when we went past the other dam, which was, almost an hour ago now, where our other grebes live, it was obviously about 5 degrees colder than it is now. But they were all out swimming away. It was barely light. So I imagine that must have been a bit worse than here even. At least here when they come up, they've got some sun on their backs. I think feathers are remarkably good insulators. And they've probably got a little bit of subcutaneous fat that helps them stay warm as well. They seem to be splitting the parenting duties here. One feeding one, the other feeding the other. In fact, I think one parent's given up. I think it's only one doing the feeding at the moment. Pamela, I'm not going to name the baby grebes, no. I can't cope with the political ramifications of doing so. So I'm happy for you to name them if you'd like to, Pamela. Maybe 1 and 2. It's a good set of names for them. Just listening to the radio and figuring out what Hukamuri is going to do. Yeah, I think... Oh, my goodness. It's a leopard. It's a leap of leopard day. Let's go across to Nicky at Ngala, who's given up on the Birmingham Pride because he doesn't need them right now. Sylvia.
Guys, sorry about that, firstly with Nicky, but I'm sure he'll be back in no time. Hukamuri has just crossed west. Let's see if we can see him along this path. There we go, last view of the hook. Let me see if I can just pop my nose here so we can get a view. That's as good as it's going to get. And off he goes. Short and sweet, and I think rather wonderful to start the morning with. The hook. I dream of leopards, and I had many dreams of leopards last night. I dreamt of Shudulu, I dreamt of a new female, very large new female, but I didn't dream about a male leopard. So, some parts of your dreams do come true. The leopard portion, to be exact. Now we have a couple males that weren't too happy with Hukamuri's presence. Hi Tabby, you're 7 years old from San Francisco. You'd like to know, how can we tell a leopard from a cheetah? Now, leopards and cheetahs can be difficult because they're both spotty and they're similar color. But a cheetah has spots like you take your felt tip pen, you take a pen and you just do a spot, doop, on the piece of paper, that's the type of spots that a cheetah has. A leopard has spots that we call rosettes. I'm just going to turn off the road because there's a car coming, and I am smack bang in the middle, and I'll show you. Well, I was going to say I'll show you a picture, but that's okay because Nikki at andBeyond's Ngala has an actual leopard for you, so you can see the difference in spots and rosettes. So let's go over to have a look.
Not sure if you'll see it from the road. Not sure. I'm gonna give you an update on what's going on here. But yeah, they're moving west. So give me a few minutes. I'll tell you this is worth going to the road there.
Okay, copy. I heard them earlier and I went to Sydney's Dam to have a look, but I couldn't see them. But yeah, just keep me updated, please. Thanks, yours.
Henry, are you on drive, Henry?
Sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't realize. So yours has just said that there are 7 hyenas at Sydney's Dam, and that's where we went earlier when we heard the sound of the hyenas, and we didn't see anything. So he said he's going to keep me updated on whether those hyenas are visible from the road or not, and then we can have a look on that side. But for the moment, I think gosh, I don't actually know what I feel like doing. Let's go south. James has gone up to the north. Let's play a little musical chairs, James and I. How about we do that? I'll send you back over to James and he can tell you exactly where he is and what his plans are.
We are going to go on to the eastern boundary and head south because we are now on the far northeastern corner, which means we have only 2 options. And that's one is west and one is south. And we'll see if we can't find some tracks. Oh, gosh. Let's get onto a smoother road before I continue talking to you. I'm likely to swear at the compaction my spine is being subjected to. Some nice elephant tracks. BK and I thoroughly enjoyed sitting on top of the dam wall there as we warmed up. 13 degrees Celsius it was this morning, so probably a lot colder down next to the rivers. I'm sure certainly colder where Sean and Marcel, at least where Nikki and Marcel were operating this morning. And for us out here, let me tell you, that is freezing cold. I know for those of you who actually have winter, it's a bit of a joke, but for us, ooh, we nearly couldn't get out of bed this morning. I tell you what, those hyenas do a serious amount of mileage in the nights. Up and down they run. And it's no wonder they look so fat. They work hard for it. We'll just have a little stop at the top here and to listen. Amani, you've been given the wrong impression. Wild dogs definitely don't have a better survival rate than hyenas. Hyenas are much more likely to survive than wild dogs. Wild dogs are the second rarest carnivore in the whole of Africa. And that's only because the rarest is a very obscure Ethiopian jackal. It lives only in the highlands of Ethiopia. Wild dogs are potentially living, or could potentially live in a vast number of areas, but they don't, because they have been harassed by human beings mainly, and they struggle. And so they are really not animals that survive very well at all. Most of them are under the age of 5 years old. So for a wild dog to even get to 5 years is impressive. Now, I remember reading that once and thinking that's really quite astonishing. So most of the dogs that are caught and collared or caught and have some kind of medical attention are under 5 years old. They've got a potential lifespan of probably 10 to 12 years old, which is very seldom. Black Eye, you say, it's time for who to come back for a visit? Oh, Tundi. Tundi, yes, I agree. Well, if there's a chance of seeing Tundi, we're on the right road, because she's been denning over there in Torchwood, which is east of us, but they haven't seen her at the den for the last 3 or 4 days. So we think she's moved it again, which is totally normal, especially as the cubs are now what? It must be, 12 weeks probably, maybe 13. And they'll be moving around very easily now. They'll still be unspeakably cute if we see them though. No, Chris, we don't. And that's simply because it doesn't get cold enough for animals to need to hibernate. We do have animals that estivate. So reptiles and amphibians go into a kind of temporary hibernation where they'll move around if it gets wet enough. So it's not actually cold enough for them to be immobile, but it does get dry enough for it to be difficult for them to move. So if we get a heavy rain in winter, which you might get 1 or 2, they'll all come out again and then go back into estivate. But nothing out here does much hibernation. Certainly none of the mammals would hibernate. They're all around during the winter time. It just doesn't get cold enough. Like I say, we think it's freezing, but it really isn't. Another marathon hyena came running down here. Trishala says she hibernates during the winter. Well, she's from Durban, and Durban, I think, if it gets to 14 degrees in Durban, people start calling emergency services. And this is 14 degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit. I mean, if you have to put a jersey on in Durban, it's a bitterly cold day. Surf, I think the minimum temperature that we're likely to experience here is about 10 degrees Celsius. It might go down to 8, and then if you're deep in the riverbed, say we're on the southern boundary of this reserve in the river, it could probably go down to 4, but that's only pre-dawn, and then it heats up again. I remember at Ngala once we had frost, only once in 5 years, and it obviously disappeared very quickly. So it probably dropped to 0 during the night, but then it was fine. That was weirdly unusual though, highly, highly unusual. And it doesn't get cold enough here for it to ever snow. And what's so interesting about that is that in the local language here, Xitsonga, and I think in Sepedi, which is another language that's spoken close by, there is no word for snow. Do you speak Pedi? Tswana. And there's no word for snow, hey? Yeah, there's no word for snow. In Zulu, there's a word for snow, but it's the same word that there is for ice. What is it? It's got a click in it. I think it's iqa. Something like that. There's a ground scraper thrush. Let's look at it. There we go. And Khanti in the final control is saying that the word for snow it's up there. There, it's gone. There's a word in Xhosa for snow, and that's ikepu. And that's quite interesting because, was that with a click or without a click, Louise? Is it ikepu or ikepu? No click, ikepu. And in the Eastern Cape, you've got the Eastern Cape Highlands, and there'll be snow there, which means, and ice. And so the local language from that area has a word for it, and in Zulu. But here, no, doesn't get cold enough. No sign of Thandi crossing into Djuma there. It was one of her favorite routes. Leopard. Leopard. Spell it for me, please, Louise. Leopard. So, nice comment from Haley, who says that in Sepedi there is a word for snow, and that's leopard. Hello, impalas. Do you have a word for snow? No, you don't, do you? Because it don't ever get cold enough here for you to have experienced snow. Lovely sounds. Now, these impala ewes must be deeply relieved because the rut is coming to an end. Now, whether this male has covered them or not yet, I'm not sure. It's probably about a week early, but very soon they will be covered if they haven't been. It's a strange term that I'm not sure if it's only used in animal husbandry, if you can use it for wild animals, for a male to cover the female. It's definitely got to be of British origins because it's so understated. Gosh, these doves really do shout at each other every morning and throughout the day, but it's such a comforting sound. All right, let's go back to Trish and figure out where she's going to go. I'll continue down south here, and we'll try and find some signal with Ngala.
That is a wonderful plan, James. I have just tucked into the southern boundary and now going to head north again. So we're playing musical chairs, which I quite like. I like when we get to cover similar areas but at different times because it's so difficult. You know, when you're tracking an animal, you're behind by a certain amount of minutes, if not hours, and sometimes you are ahead of the animal. So when we get to move around the reserve at different times covering similar areas, I quite like that, because you need to do that to catch an animal at the right time. So as he starts to move south again, which was actually our original plan, we have plans generally in the morning. It's just that they're very loose by the time we actually get out. And you'll find that I'll say, oh, go to the north. James will say he'll decide he'll go to the south, and then somebody finds something crazy like hukumuri, and then, or a leopard or lions, whatever, and then our plans change. And I like that it's really nice and flexible. We have a beautiful spider web in the sunlight. I wonder if we'll be able to see it properly if you need me to move. Oh, there we go. My mic. Hang on, I need to... It was sitting awkwardly. Now it's sitting a bit better. Isn't this gorgeous? It reminds me of a CD. I bet now all you can see is a CD, because now that's all I can see. It's just perfect. Little thing wrapped up in the middle there. I have no idea what you are, but you are tiny. You can actually see exactly where the spider's finished the web. It starts from the outside and works inward. You can see that final spiral that comes in to where it's now lying up. Oh, woke up a little bit. Sorry, Darby. Legs started to move a little bit. Getting a morning stretch in. We all need a good morning stretch, don't we? I'm also really enjoying the sunlight on my face, which was a bit frigid early on. Remember James was talking to you about animals that hibernate and how we don't get any animals that hibernate here. I am an exception to that. I hibernate in winter. Or, you may also call me a migratory species, where I go somewhere else where it isn't cold. Yes, there will be lots of hibernation going on once winter sets in. Sounds like there's quite a few vehicles out today. So that's just the channels in the east. That's what it sounds like. You know when I go to Chitwa and I tell you how difficult it is to listen to the radio there because it's constantly one-eyed pan, Djuma. Sounds like that, like you would have just heard. So it's a bit difficult. So I was chatting to them earlier, well, not to Chitwa, but the other channels, the eastern channels, and just letting them know that Hukumuri moved off in their direction. Well, I know it's in the west, but they use the eastern channel. We call those areas, well, all those areas use the eastern channel. Everything that's basically kind of south and west of us. So like I said, there's a lot of vehicles out today, it seems, so maybe there are more sightings. Hi, Kay Williamson. You'd like to know who sorts out the tech problems when we go offline? Is it Alex? Today it's not Alex, thank goodness, because Alex has had is finally having a day off after about close to March, April, May, close to 3 months of going on straight. So he's finally having a sleep in today, and now we've brought in Kanti, who is our tech savior. But yes, they both deserve a shout out. It's actually, you don't actually believe it, but they're constantly working, if that makes sense. If power goes out, then Alex still goes and does the generator, so to wake up in the middle of the night if that's what it means. If the internet goes down, he has to do the same. So they definitely deserve a shout out. And that's in between, of course, him making sourdough bread for us all in the morning, or last night, like he decided that he would start on his 3-day procedure of making croissants. Alex Bread King is his new name. He made baguettes yesterday, and then also a loaf of sourdough last night for baking this morning. That's what happens when you when you work for 3 months solid and you need a creative outlet. But I will definitely send the shout out. The tech team are definitely our silent heroes. Right, now we're going past Treehouse Dam, or we will be going past Treehouse Dam, that unproductive dam. My radio is going crazy. There we go. World's most unproductive dam. So unproductive. That's how I get it to be productive, generally. I'm not the only one heading towards water, so is James. So let's go over to his much bigger water than mine.
We've got big water here. It is, of course, Chitwa Waterhole. And I heard a buffalo came past here in the night. And I was wondering if maybe they hadn't been set upon by some lions. But I don't think they were. I actually think that herd of buffalo is probably on Djuma right now. Anyway, we're on Chitwa, southeast of Djuma. And we'll have a look at the waterhole. Listen out for any predators that might be shouting. And then we'll do a quick turn around the southern end of Chitwa as well. The only animal I've seen so far here are the hippos, obviously. And then a single impala running across the dam wall on its own. Now, it's not unlikely or not unusual for wild dogs to come trotting past this place and isolate an impala like that. There are the hippos. It is very bright in the sun, but there they are. Nice to see. I suppose it must be warm for them sitting in a group, but I think they're pretty cold otherwise, and often you'll find them out of the water at this time of the year. Otherwise everything is quiet here. It's nice to have the sun on our faces. Calls of the red-billed buffalo weavers, impalas, but not much else. And then there's a little family of Egyptian geese over there, BK, dead straight in front of us, just on the shores. Got into the water when we arrived, obviously a little nervous, but now they've calmed down And I think they're eating the algae there. It's quite interesting. Algae and grass seeds. Those of you who've played golf in South Africa will know that the Egyptian goose is a ubiquitous resident on golf courses, as is the bird that just disappeared from the bottom of frame, the blacksmith lapwing. But what's interesting about the Egyptian goose, I think, is that it is totally herbivorous. But for the one record that we got of them eating fish in Buffelshoek Waterhole in a year that dam dried out, and it had fish in it at the time. And as it dried out, these Egyptian geese had a field day, eating little tilapia. And I could find no record anywhere of Egyptian geese eating fish. I'm sure they weren't the very first Egyptian geese to eat fish, but it was a nice record to get. Some of you asking where the fish eagle is. I don't see him in his normal perch, so maybe he's out hunting. I'm afraid looking across the dam is almost impossible because the sun is shining straight off it into our eyes. But I don't see him around right now. Right, nothing much going on hearing-wise, so I think let's carry on. Astral Jaeger, what a name. Yes, we do roughly plan our safaris based on previous sightings, not so much in the mornings, that's much more the case in the afternoon. So if we'd been following up on something and we didn't find it, then we might start off going towards that area in the afternoons. But in the mornings it's normally, what did we hear during the night? It can be, I saw Tingana in an X place last night. Let's see where, I predict he'll go to Y place. Let's go and check there. It's kind of just depends on how everyone's feeling. And then you'll go in a direction, you'll find tracks. I had planned to go to the west today, not up north where Trish found Hukumuri, but further south. So we had some elephants calling there. And then we found tracks of the male leopard, so that changed completely and we carried on going towards the east. And now we've ended up here. So there's a lot of change that happens. It can often be fairly dangerous to just make a plan out here and try and stick to it rigidly. Because there are so many variables that change all the time. Unfortunately, Nicky has not got his leopards anymore. He'll tell you about that now, but he does have some signal.
Sorry guys, I'm sure it will get sorted soon. We are slowly heading north again. I did pass Treehouse Dam. It appears my bashing of the dam is not working out too well. So I shall now say nice things about the dam as I go past it, see if that works instead. Let's see what these hornbills are up to. couple red-billed hornbills going after some morning delights and now hiding from us. Ah, there we go. These guys are really interesting to watch. They definitely entertain us at camp. Especially Louise's window. They love Louise's window. Even when Louise is there, they'll bang on her window, and it's very strange because they sound very much like a human knocking on your window. Tick, tick, tick. And you say yes, no response. Oh, it's a hornbill. And here are some starlings. I love a Birchall starling. They look so sleek. And then in the perfect light, they have the most beautiful color. Hi, Fight Destiny. You'd like to know if the animals see us in the car and the cam ops as one entity, as multiple. I'm going to tell you what we're taught, and then I'm going to tell you what I think. Firstly, we are taught that they see us as one entity, one thing. I feel like that does make sense because maybe they find it difficult to differentiate that they are two beings plus something that's not alive or non-living, and that they see that as one whole because we are all sitting on the vehicle, which I can understand. But I have seen animals look at me in my eyes and then look at the cam up in their eyes. So for me that would indicate that they're seeing that they are two responsive entities at least. But whether they know that we are separate from this vehicle, that I doubt. Because the way that they react when we are off the vehicle, when clearly the vehicle is nearby and we are off the vehicle, they see, oh, there's separate things walking about. So I think, crowned lapwings here. I think that they can't differentiate that, or they don't have an idea of how large we are. This is the one with the broken leg. Well, I've said it before, that looks like it's something that happened when it was younger and has healed up quite well. You can see there's actually that bone kind of callousy bit where the bone would have healed. And you see right there. And it's moving and doing pretty well. Still managing to forage. And obviously it has a partner with it. Yeah, got itself some breakfast. Yes, we're talking about you. Talk to us again. I think it's quite sweet how they go about foraging together. Philemon's cutline is great for birds that are looking for little insects that emerge, especially ground birds. A smaller variety of those birds, like the lapwings. I mean, the starlings and the hornbills, pretty prevalent everywhere, but on this road they quite like it. And it's also because the grass is quite short, so they may find little things a little bit easier. You also get ground scraper thrush. Like an Natal spurfowl running off, another ground bird. Of course it's not running off, it's flying off. Though birds do prefer, believe it or not, to walk or run as much as they can before they have to take off in flight. And that's because flight is very expensive energetically. There was an experiment done where there was a plank that they kept increasing the inclination of, and they would see how far birds would go until they would fly off, and we found out that it was only at the very end, when they really cannot walk, that they would fly. Anyway, I'm going to send you over to James. I think he's about to to an airstrip now. I'm going to keep on moving north.
We've just come off the airstrip and we are going up now towards the north. No signs of lions or buffaloes or anything else on this part of the reserve. It is starting to warm up though, which is a merciful relief after the cold of the morning. Apparently I'm told reliably by Louise that it is now 16 degrees Celsius. It's warmer than that when you're in the sun though. It's not warm when you're not in the sun though. There is the track of a leopard and her bebe. Almost certainly Gucheva and her youngster. I will quickly show you the track, then I will turn around and see if I can follow where it went, because it looks pretty fresh to me. That looks like fresh tracks. Gucheva, where are you? And your baby. There we are. And the little male baby. You can't see. Can you see this close? There. Now these look pretty good. Oh, sorry. Let me just duck behind the car quickly to have a quick look. Yeah, these look like pretty good tracks to me. I don't think they were here last night when we came through here. So, well, that would be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it, if we managed to find these chaps. Where have they come out of? If they've come out of the south, it would be best, because it means they're unlikely going south. But I think they've come out of the north, in fact. Anyway, let's follow along. We've managed to name this leopard, the little one, not Ned, because his name will not be Ned. And Louise just saying she'd like to see him because she reminds him of Tamba, who was Tandi's cub. And that's because Tamba was a very serious leopard. He always seemed to take life very seriously. And so seriously, in fact, that he became territorial aged just 3. Which is unusual. From an early start on life. Carefully down in here. This little drainage line area looks like a good spot. for Guchava and her bebe to be hanging out. It is right on the southern extremity of where we're allowed to go. I think they've gone down in here, so we'll just stick our noses over the edge. Gosh, it would be so nice, wouldn't it? You see any leopards there, BK? No? I don't either. Let's see if we can hear the crunching of bands. Oops. No. No crunching of bands or movement. By this time of the morning, they'd probably be asleep. We'll just drive along here a little bit. Is there a big hole there, BJ? No, we're okay. Right on the edge of the Chitwa airstrip. Let's go back to Trishula and Darby while we have a little bit of a concentrate in this area. Did I call you?
Hello everyone, I'm now off the vehicle but having a good look around. I've been alarmed at by the wildebeest. I was a little offended. No, I wasn't. I've seen tracks for Tingana. Oh, oof, I'm assuming it's Tingana. It looked like Tingana. I'm just trying to figure out where he's gone once he came down Wahlberg Eagle's Nest Road. And I'm not seeing tracks of that freshness. But he could have cut through the block as well. Just having a good look. Looks like he didn't come this way. Ground is also pretty hard here. Unless he was walking on the sides where it's a little sandy. So if he was walking in the middle, it may be a little problematic. It's also important to look in the sun. I think these are from early on. There's one track here. Let's look from this side. I don't see. I just saw that one track that I what I call underlined, but I don't see. That was not fresh. What I find with tracks though, if you find one, then your eyes become a little accustomed to it, and then you'll be able to see a trail. Where did you go from here? Sometimes look under the vehicle. Not for Tingana, but for tracks. It's going to be a guessing game of where we go next. I say we go over the dam wall onto Central. Just in case he managed to go across this drainage, which is very likely he can do that. And if he had gone over the dam wall, you would have seen him. He might also have moved off the road while he was walking, and then he might come back onto the road, and I'll see tracks. Someone else has gotten off here though as well. I see human tracks. Let's have a look at this beast while I look for tracks. This is my gnued friend, wildebeest. Did you enjoy that? Thank you. I worked on it for all of 2 seconds before I sent it over to you. But I see no tracks. I suspect that he was in quarantine at some point, because the wildebeest and the kudu, which generally are in quarantine, have come down here. Aren't their coats just beautiful? So shiny, and the tails just lovely. Hi, Crystal. You'd like to know why there are no springboks here. Springboks prefer a more open environment. Here we have what we call mixed broad woodland thicket. Kudu. Springbok, like Thompson's gazelle, like cheetah, prefer a more open environment. Because remember, animals that run really, really fast need to have an environment where they can run fast. And I'm going to use the Thompson's gazelle here as an example, because quite similar to a springbok, and they are this example is used often in ecology classes, where we talk about an evolutionary arms race. So one species gets good at something, and then the species in which they prey on gets good at it too. Cheetah, really fast, expert runners, and they prey on Thompson's gazelle. Thompson's gazelle get faster, cheetah get faster. Thompson gazelle get even faster, cheetah get even faster. So they're just constantly in a race. And when I say this, I mean over millions of years. Starting with their ancestors. And even up to now. And this type of environment is not perfect for an animal with that kind of capability to be able to truly express themselves. Impala are down here too. Hi Leo, you're 11 years old and you're from Joburg. You'd like to know, why do male antelopes have horns and female antelopes don't? There's a couple things to talk about here. Firstly, it's a matter of sexual selection. Horns look nice, and maybe females like males that have these pretty horns that are well developed and nice and big. Other reason is that males have to compete for females, and to do that they need some weaponry. And horns are a good form of that. But it is not always the case that only male antelopes have horns and females don't. There's some species where both, like for wildebeest, that both species will have horns, and if both species have horns, It's mostly related to whether both of them are involved in protecting a territory or an area, or even their young. But mostly it involves territory. If both individuals or both sexes are involved in protecting a territory, then they both tend to have horns. I didn't see any more tracks. Hi JD, you basically want to know what is quarantine. Quarantine is the name of a clearing near camp. It's called quarantine clearings because at one point in its history, probably 100 years ago, if not, I don't know, give or take maybe 20 years, it used to be an area where animals would be quarantined, especially if they had some sort of problem. One that comes to mind is rinderpest. Then those animals would be quarantined in that area. Remember, this area has not always been the Sabi Sands. It's been farmland, it's been land with nobody in it, it's been land with many communities living and having homes here. So that's just named quarantine clearings because it used to be a quarantine area. Just like we have places like Impala Plains or Twin Dams, we name them based on some description or the other. And that's all that is. See, no tracks. Do I feel like taking sin? No. I always use this road to get home because it's the quickest, but I don't check enough. So I'm going to check on Gary Cutliner, and I'll send you back over to James, who's on the vehicle after his tracking expedition.
I'm afraid those tracks went straight south into a nice, beautiful riverbed, but that riverbed is not on an area where we're allowed to traverse, and so I left them. And now we're driving again. Such is the way of looking for things, you know, here. That's how it goes. Maybe we'll happen upon Tundi as we come out of Chitwa. It's such a different feel driving along Chitwa here, and I don't just mean because the roads are like the Autobahn, or for smoothness. Although we're hardly separated from Djuma, the vegetation in subtle ways, it's still broadleaf Cumbritum woodland, but there are trees like the Cassia abbreviata or long-tailed cassia which occur here, a lot more torchwood trees or green thorns, termite mounds like this, which are on average much bigger than the ones at Djuma. They're all this size. You don't find any small ones, and I don't really know why this should be the case, unless the soil is just deeper. As we are now is we're on the eastern side of the big Morwanini drainage line, and maybe there's some kind of different geology. The elephants have been sorry, the signal's not great here. Let's get back to Trish.
Here, signal's a little bit better here. But I don't just want good signal for you guys. I want some action. So many times I've had sightings on either side of this road in these blocks. But when I'm ever actually on this road, I hardly see anything. Except for elephants. I've seen elephants, yeah. Hi Jimmy! You say you're new here, how do we get the internet in the bush and then back out and to you guys? It's a lot of work. A lot of work. Yeah. African hoopoo. It is a lot of work. So obviously we have signal towers, etc. like that. We have Wi-Fi set up here. How and what they use to set up the Wi-Fi, I have no idea, but our tech knows all about it. It's quite an intensive technical operation. And then obviously when we have different feeds from different areas, then we have to do those setups in different areas. So we have different masts, at least here. That's one of my favorite bird calls. So it's a very intensive process, but we do manage to do it, and we do manage to have Wi-Fi at camp all the time, which is amazing to me. Even a backup Wi-Fi. And then the feed gets sent to Johannesburg, I think, and then gets sent somewhere else, and then gets broadcast. The details of which I just don't have the capacity to understand, really. But we have FC here, we have tech room here, we have, like I said, the several masts and all of that help us to get the internet. And if we don't have the internet, then we can't broadcast to you. I'm lucky I came in at a time where all of those things were ironed out. And WildEarth has been going for 13 years. With dips in between and all of that, but after that time the setup gets pretty streamlined. Obviously with new locations we have new problems. But those get ironed out too. Isn't that cute? It was as if the African hoopoe was telling you all about how we do this. Also, I think it's important to note, and I'm only saying this because I have experienced this type of question before, and I know that many of you may not be familiar with Africa, but Africa is very much like any other country, or South Africa is very much like any other country. And the grey go away birds. And we have the internet and cable TV and all of those kind of things. It's just a matter of moving those setups to the bush. We even fly drones and rovers and all those type of things. Yeah. South Africa is an odd country in that there are parts of it that are first world and parts of it that are third world and everything in between. But we definitely have the technologies you can think of. If you have it in your country, we're likely to have it in our country too. Just affordability is the question. Now, I wanted to show you the grey go-away birds because somebody had asked me that they could hear it. What was it? It was last drive, I think. They said they really wanted to see the grey go-away birds. I'm not sure who it was, but there you go. 2 grey go-away birds. Pretty, I think, and noisy. Anyway, James is in a better signal area, I hope so. So let's go and see what update he's got for us.
We've popped out of Chitwa onto the northern boundary of Chitwa. Tandy has her den somewhere in there, in Torchwood. We can't go there, unfortunately. Maybe she'll come out onto this road. She does do that from time to time. Hopefully we can do something with animal life, be it an insect, a bird, mammal, fish, arachnid, interesting tree, flower. Yes, Cal 6, the dung beetles have gone. It is too dry now, and so they cannot get into the soil to bury their dung. You'll find the odd dung beetle underneath a very fresh patty, but it's unusual now. Oh, there's a dwarf mongoose, BK. Middle of the road. Can you believe it? It's going to be about 2 pixels in size. Our cup hath finally overflowed. And also, my most cheerful friend, the crested barbet. You see him there? Yeah. Top of the tree there? Top of the dead tree.
Dead tree? Where's dead tree?
The closest dead tree to us. He's now had another birthday since I saw him. You see him? There he is. Magnificent crested barbet. Totally different suite of birds calling now. Cisticolas. Brew. Chagras. I don't know what that is. Can you hear that? No idea what that is. Sounds like a chagra. Yeah, I think that's what it is. But you see how the doves have calmed down? There's a laughing dove going, but there are very few Cape turtle doves. No franklins, no sparrows. And that those light kind of whistling notes you can hear are the blue waxbills. There's a bearded woodpecker going as well. Rollers. That's that very unattractive kind of grinding call. This guy's just loving the sunlight, the warmth on his feathers. He's such cheerful colours, isn't he? When I lived in Johannesburg, I used to put a pawpaw out every morning, especially in the winter time, and he'd come and sit on it. Probably not this specific bird, but the species, and he'd come and eat the pawpaw in the sun. Anushka, I think all birds have got a preen gland, yes. I don't know of any birds that don't have a preening gland. I know that a lot of water birds, or some water birds like the darter, for example, don't put much oil on their feathers because they want them to get wet so that they can get down and sink into the water. But I think all birds have got a preening gland. But I'm not sure if every single bird does. I don't know if an ostrich does, for example. But I think those oils are very important for feather health. We are now going across as the happy bird flies away to a happy human known as Trishala.
I too am a happy bird. Or a happy thing. I don't know if I can classify myself as any animal. It's very difficult for me to choose things. Very indecisive. I feel so bad for things that I don't choose. Do you know what I mean? I just want everything to be happy and know that it's appreciated. I love it all. I must tell you that the other day in my room, I even said, that gecko is cute. Can you believe it? For the new viewers, there is one creature that I'm a little... makes me do this, where I get a little bit of that shake going on. And that is a gecko. But even still, I said, that gecko is cute. So yeah, at the dam of the Buffels Hook. Hoping that there'd be elephants around. Oh, good morning. That was the perfect head turn, on cue. Oh, lovely hippo. Oh, the dams are starting to get that slightly rotting vegetation smell that I told you about. You know, when you leave a bouquet of flowers in the same water for too long, and then the water and the stems start to have that smell. It's not too bad, but I'm getting a moment of it every now and then. Huh. I have a starling friend that's in front of the vehicle that almost seems to be behaving like Wingston.
Can you see him?
No, it's now too close. On your side, I think, Darby. Oh, there you are. Are you Wingston's partner in crime? Very cool, very cool. Very cool. It's very nice and peaceful out here at Buffels Hook Dam. Hi, Maddie. You're 8 years old and you're from New Zealand. You'd like to know what time of the year do baby birds learn to fly? Well, it depends on the bird, but generally, parents like baby birds to be at a point where they can be out and about and learn to fly and quite happy in their environment when it's around summertime and just after. Oh, there's the baby hippo. That's the one that's getting played with. And that's because, Maddie, there's lots of insects around if they need to eat insects. There's lots of fruit around if they need to eat fruit. Depending on all the different things they need to eat, there's lots of it around. So that's a great time for baby birds to be born. And then not long after that, they'll learn to fly. Now, I wonder if you can see what's happening here. That little one is actually hanging onto the back of the larger hippo. Because remember, hippos don't swim. So the smaller babies will need to climb on the backs of their mums sometimes. That's such a cute little pink mouth. Can you see where they've been moving underwater? It's disturbed. So lovely and peaceful. Oh! Must look like it was coming after us. Look at the distance that it traveled. Oh, coming to zero. RD Kiwi. You'd like to know when the water gets cold in the winter, does it bother the animals at all? Or the hippos particularly? Hippos have very thick skin, good layer of fat. Actually, I say relatively thick. It's not the thickest in the bush. Thickest skin goes to the giraffe, I think 16 millimeters. But these animals are amphibious. They need to be in water and have coexisted, and their lifestyle is formed around water. So the change in temperature would not affect them, because otherwise we'd see a change in their behavior. Oh, they're really giving us a show today, these hippos. Little one just came up as well. Also, you'll notice that the areas where we lose heat from rapidly, like our ears, they're very small in a hippo. Areas where skin is very thin, those are reduced in a hippo. Ooh. can sit and enjoy this relaxing scene together as they bob up and down. My goodness, did I hear that correctly, Louise? I can send you over to James, who has something special. Let's go over.
Jeepers, it took long enough for her to get there. Yes, there is an amazing thing going on here. He's absolutely mangling that bush. Now that's territorial to a large extent. And they're not the only ones that do it. Impala do it as well. Buffalo do it. I've seen kudu doing it. But there doesn't seem to be another ram around or bull around. And so I'm wondering if he was doing it to leave his scent there. Because often it's done in sort of demonstration. That was really cool to see. Let's just get into a position where we can watch him again and see if he finds another bush to horn. No. He's now disappeared. Can you see him anywhere, BK? Yeah, I think he's gone into the thick stuff there. Well, that was very interesting. They've got glands around the tops of their heads, and I think they've also, some antelope, and I'm not sure if they do, have got glands in between the cloves of their hooves. So maybe that's what he was doing by hitting it with his foot. Very interesting. Trish is up here, so we're going to go down this way. I think that buffalo herd crossed back onto Torchwood, naturally. And so we have got a Ngala. Well, we had a Ngala. And we'll see if maybe there's another Ngala down this road. Monday morning out in the wilderness. It's funny how those school days have, I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I certainly feel the movement of a 7-day week even when I'm out here. And I'm pretty sure that's our programming from school. It feels like Monday morning to me, even though it's absolutely no different whatsoever from any other day. It's a very nice Monday morning, mind, but I definitely feel the passage of weeks as opposed to just days rolling one onto the other. I suppose that during lockdown people are starting to lose that feeling. She's speaking. Apparently, there's a query about what BK stands for. BK, over to you. It stands for Bokamoso. So BK's full name is Bokamoso, which is a Tswana name, right? Gosh, there's really these crickets out here right now. Fred, you say it's Monday, but you've got Friday on your mind. I think I'm actually minded of it because my Monday mornings are so glorious these days. think that's why I'm reminded of the fact that it's the beginning of the week. On account of the fact that we can't see anything, we'll just stop here and listen to the white-browed scrub robin. Laurel, all of the birds, or most of the birds that we're going to leave have left. So you'll find that none of the birds that we have here now will go. Pretty sure they're all gone. Naturally now it's stopped calling. It was a beautiful white-browed scrub robin call. Fascinating. Good tree. On we go. Driving past the top end of Sandy's old den. She hasn't been back there for some time. Where we first saw the little cubbies 3 weeks ago now. It was a fun day, wasn't it? Feels like forever ago. No, Ryan, there aren't many natural disasters that threaten this area other than drought. I'm glad you said drought, because that is really the only thing. And flood. You know, extreme weather, yes. But, you know, this is one of the most ancient areas on planet Earth. Now, I know that the whole Earth is the same age as the rest of the Earth, but this particular area has not experienced geological upheaval for millions of years. And the result of that is that there is no volcanic activity, there are no tectonic plates underneath us that, or meeting tectonic plates that could create some kind of a fault line. The soil has leached of many of its nutrients, and that's why this area was never useful for farming. And so it's a very stable area. And climatically, it's also really not very extreme. Yeah, it gets hot, but it doesn't ever get freezing cold. We're not close enough to the sea to be affected by cyclones. So no, it's not flat enough really for there to be tornadoes. So we don't really get hit by any kind of natural disasters. No earthquakes, no volcanoes, no hurricanes or cyclones, which is what we call them in the Indian Ocean, no tornadoes. So flood and drought are the only real things. And even then, you know, the floods will dry the place out pretty quickly. It's not like the place holds water, so you can have an extremely heavy rain and then it'll be gone in 4 or 5 days. You'll be able to kind of move around. The result is that no one's prepared for any kind of extreme weather. So when there is extreme weather, everybody has a panic attack because we're just not prepared for it. There's not a lot going on out here right now. Here we go into the valley of the Great Mulawamati. We'll make our way around towards the west. See what's happening that end. We originally had the sound of the elephants. Maybe there are elephants there, although they've probably moved quite far from by now. Ah, goodness. To Sharla has managed to find some elephants, so let's go across to her.
I did. I was just driving along the road and here they were. Hello, lovelies. We have a youngish male. A very small herd, but you know with these guys, they can be dispersed over quite large distances. I love when they do that. See 4 elephants at the moment, but there might be more nearby. Peaceful, so I'm just enjoying it. Hope that you guys are enjoying it as well. I see that this one is a youngish male. Firstly, I had a look on his undercarriage. He's definitely a male. And the tusks to me look like he's about maybe 10, 8 to 10. Still in the herd though. Not funny at all, is it? Oh, how was that?
Imagine I left that sighting for...
Did you see how he broke off the part that he didn't like with his trunk and then tossed it? That was awesome. That wasn't coming from this guy, but from the guy at the rest of the herd. That's behind a buffalo thorn nearby. There's about 4 of them behind, actually. 2 slightly younger ones. So relaxed. I think it's the perfect way to spend the last, how many minutes of drive do we have? 25 minutes of drive? Couldn't ask for better. There's a few down there. We can't see them very clearly. Do you see that trunk go up and say, hi, I see you? Right, I'll wait a little bit for them to move out onto the road, and I'll send you back over to James, who is apparently with our limpy lapwing.
Unfortunately, the limpy lapwing has flown away. You got him there. So what he's got there is a broken intertarsus joint. Now, I believe you've seen this before. Louise is laughing at him and feeling guilty about it. I don't think you should feel too guilty because he's surviving just fine. And in fact, BK reckons that he's seen this bird. When was it, BK? Last year?
Earlier this year.
Earlier this year. Way down by the big brown ivory tree, which is not far well, I mean, it's quite far from here. He definitely didn't walk there. But there are crowned lapwings often on all of these clearings. So I think he's fine. Let's have a look at the warthogs now. There are 2 warthogs. Nowhere in the world will you find warthogs as terrified as the warthogs at Djuma. Get anywhere near them and they run like jackrabbits. I've never seen a jackrabbit run, so I don't know if that's true or not. But they run away. They will be particularly pleased with the amount of greenery around as they go into the winter. They're supposed to be the ones that suffer the most when the drought comes along. I'm not entirely sure that that's true. I think during our last drought, the animals that suffered the most were in fact the buffalo. And less because the warthogs are more secretive and smaller, they suffered in silence. This is quite an interesting little arrangement because I think it's a couple. Is it? No. No, it's a big bull and a young bull. Maybe a father and son, or big boar, sorry. Big boar and a little boar. Thank you, Louise. Father and son, or mentor and mentee. Or just 2 boars that have come into contact with each other and have decided that they have a better chance together than on their own. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer to them. I somehow doubt it. They are a fairly nervy bunch. What was that, Louise? Ah. That's better. Oh, no, there we go. Rather, no, we don't really have any made-up animals here, other than Itogoloshi. And Itogoloshi is more of a sort of human demon type creature that visits in the night. So it's not really an animal. This is very confiding warthog. The mentor has run away and the mentee has said, well, these guys are not so terrifying. And then there is the inevitable story of Uvusi, the water mongoose, who is able to invert his rectum in order to catch chickens. I've told that story too many times, but I have, and it's not universally known, but it is known by a few people. BK, do you know of any strange animals? No. There aren't a lot, are there? The Khoisan used to have fantastical therianthropic beasts, I suppose, in their legends and certainly in their art. So if you look at cave paintings, you'll often find therianthropes where there's a half man, half beast doing a dance or whatever it is that he's doing. But not in any of the other local cultures that I know of, other than Itogoloshi. I'm sure there must be a few, but none of them are very well known. But Itogoloshi is universal to the country and beyond, into Zimbabwe, probably Botswana as well. Right, BK? It extends around our country. All our languages have a... Is that right?
And it's the same. They all call it Togoloshi.
And everyone calls it Togoloshi. Well, the mentor's come out, hailing his mentee. The mentee saying, yes, I'm coming, but really... Oh, here we go. Are you all right? Did those people do anything to you? No. They're actually much more similar size than I thought they were. So they are probably brothers. That is very cute. That's very sweet. I wonder if they are brothers and they were raised in the same sounder. And maybe, as we've talked about so much over the last little while, they've just got different personalities, where one of them is chilled and relaxed and not very afraid, and the other is terrified. A very precious little greeting ceremony we watched. No. Louise, I think the reason we've never seen them do stuff like that before is that we just don't watch them for long, because they're always running away. Just listening, I think I can hear elephants. But they're very far away. Right, Trish has got more elephants. Let's go across to those. I'll see if I can find these ones.
I hope that he does find the other ones. Can hear, I think. They're not that far away from each other, so perhaps it's an extension. This herd. Just amazing sounds. Yeah, over here I only had a total of about 8. I particularly like the sound of the ears when they hit against the body. two youngsters. One looks like it wants to play, the other one looks like it really doesn't. This is the one that wants to play on the right there. See how everyone was silent there and still for that moment? I'm listening. Cam, you'd like to know why the ivory found in an elephant's tusk is so valuable. Remember, an elephant's tusk is just an extension, it's just a modified tooth. So really, ivory is just layers of dentine. But I'm going to show you a picture as we get round of the way that the layers are constructed in an elephant's tooth. And then you'll understand how those layers would look inside of the tusk as well. Here we go. Opened up a little bit. And whenever you have layers of nice things, got my hands up. Whenever you've got nice layers of material, when it's polished, it looks really beautiful, and that's what people go after. So, just going to try and do this without the sun. There we go. So can you see that kind of pattern? Unique crosshatch pattern. That's how the dentin actually builds on top of each other. And it's that creates the effect of the ivory that people like so much. So theoretically you should be, ivory is not just from the tusk but from the teeth as well. Dylan, you'd like to know how much elephants eat in a day? It can be anything from 150 to 300 kgs of food. There's a nice little elephant puddle there that we'll have a look at first. There we go. So that is a lot of food. That's an awkward position for that eddy. I hope that after the time that you've spent with us and the elephants here, you would never be able to mistake the sound for anything else once you get to Africa and you experience this firsthand. Which I'm sure many of you will try to do. Now that we together have been able to have this experience virtually. I think I can hear James' vehicle. Because that is not an elephant. Can you hear the light? Sometimes they're trunk reminds me of a tentacle. Lots of you are commenting on how cute the baby was. Unspeakably so. I think baby elephants are really, really cute. Baby rhinos as well. Whoa. Super, super cute. We can actually turn around the corner and get a better view. Wow, nice and comfy with us. Okay, I'll send you over to James while I get into more pleasurable viewing position.
That's a very interesting way of linking. Thank you. I hope that you get into more pleasurable viewing. Good luck with that. We haven't come up with our elephants that we heard. We are just driving through the autumnal vegetation. Grateful for our Monday morning excursion. Making our way slowly back towards home, where we shall scavenge for some breakfast. Ngala is not just being recalcitrant. The signal, which is based on, as I have mentioned before, the delightful cellular service providers we have in this country, 2 of them, both of which, in my opinion, should be sent to the bowels of hell, are not delivering us the signal that we'd want today, so Marcel and Nikki have been unable to broadcast the wonders of Ngala. So that's why we haven't been back to them. It's not because they are just driving about or for some other reason. Maybe you were wondering. There it is. So hopefully they'll be back with us this afternoon. Christelle, there are an army of wonderful people around the world called Zoomies, and those wonderful people look after the movement of the dam cam. They do it, they volunteer, they've signed up for shifts. I don't know how you do it. I think maybe you can go to WildEarth.tv and try and find out on the website how you can sign up to be a Zoomie if you want to be. But it's people around the world who sit at home and they operate it remotely. Quite cool, eh? I think it's really nice. And the number of animals they've found for us over the years is just great. And often when we've had TV shows on and, we've been driving around here doing apps, finding nothing, the Zoomie has found something on the dam cam. We've gone rushing over to go and look at it. And currently the Zoomie is looking at some wildebeest. But it is an army of people around the world, yeah. You do a great job. So thank you to all of you who spend so many hours enjoying, well, I hope you enjoy it, looking for animals, scanning, creating nice pictures, listening, and generally providing a remote version of what we're doing here. All right, let's go back to Trish for the last few minutes of the drive. I'm going to give up and go and eat something.
That is an excellent plan. I'm looking forward to a meal as well once we get back to camp. And I think something to drink too. These guys are having a small drink here at this drainage. Like a hose pipe, that was. This particular elephant seems to have a few bowel movement problems because we can hear the internal sounds, but nothing coming out just yet. Not satisfied at all, Louise. I think it's the water quantity that's the problem here. Just can't get enough into their trunk. And then eventually when it does, it swings it around. Elephants are very picky, very choosy when it comes to water. They prefer fresh. And sometimes they'll leave other water if it means that they can smell or know that there's fresher water nearby. Now, little one is making good use of their trunk. Oh yes, that is tasty. Can't think of a better way to have ended the day. May not have been playing at the dam, but there was some water involved, and we definitely got to see them get a little bit happy, have some nice vegetation, have a little baby as well. It was like a miniature perfect elephant sighting. Gotta love that. Almost looked like that one was stuck. Too much fun is had. Oh, I think that's the little baby saying thank you so much. Thank you for your questions and your comments and watching all the wonderful wildlife with us. Oh, so we'll see you this afternoon for Sunset Safari. Bye for now.